Hello, welcome to Waypoint Survival. Today, let's turn one of these into this. So the first thing we're going to have to do is we've got to take our piece of wood here and we're going to have to split it, because obviously it takes a lot of time to whittle all this down and to make it flat. So we're going to do that, and we'll get back with you. One other note about this project: I'm going to be doing the entire project using only my Swiss Champ Swiss Army knife. So in order to baton this, we're going to pick the large blade right here of our knife, and you can see the size of it here, and we're going to place it slightly off center like this. Like this. And then we're going to bend the knife down like this so that we don't hurt our folding mechanism. And we're going to take our baton and we're going to hit just the blade, and we're only going to go down until the knife is flat even with the top, as you can see here, of our blade. We're not going to baton all the way through. And very carefully take this, I'm going to work it out, and there we have the beginnings of our split. Fold this up. We're going to take a hardwood wedge, put it here in our split, and we're going to split on down like that. There's our first piece. Okay, we don't need that anymore. And we're going to do the same thing with the other side. Place it in the crack. Discard this piece. There it is, our wedge. Put the wedge down, and then what we have left here, as you can see, is a very nice thin piece of wood. Now it's very important that you try to pick a piece that doesn't have any knots. Get a straight grain as you possibly can. This is a piece of maple, and it is fresh cut. Green wood is always much easier to carve and cut than when you're dealing with a piece of dried out wood. So this is just from a small sapling that I cut down the other day. Next, I'm going to take our main blade out. I'm going to start carving off the bark here. And because it is spring, everything comes off really easy. As a matter of fact, if you can get this bark started, because the sap is running up, you can just peel a lot of it off. But I find it easier, depending on the type of wood, you can just cut it off with the knife blade. And of course, always keep your knives really sharp. But that gives you a really good edge, really nice finish. Do the same thing to the other side. Again, it comes off quite easy. And there we go. And you can see the width of this. It's actually very close to the width of my Swiss Champ knife. And of course, you also have to think about what your fork needs to look like. And of course, you can see the width and the length of a normal sized kitchen fork. And so we want to try to keep it somewhere in that range so that it will fit into our mouth easily enough, not be real wide. And of course, that's always an issue when you're hand carving something. Alright, so the next thing we want to do is, using our fork for a reference, we can kind of see how long this needs to be here. And we'll turn it over. And so we see that we want to start carving about right in here. So lay the fork down, and then we're going to start whittling on this, and we're just going to carve this down, making some nice shavings here, and we're carving in the shoulder of the fork. We're going to do that on both sides, and I'll whittle that down and get back to you. So here we have our piece of wood whittled down here for the handle, and at this point we're going to start whittling on the the rest of the tines here and see if we can't figure out how to make this smaller here, thinner, and curve it up just a little bit so that we can start on our tines. And all we're doing is we're just taking our knife and we're smoothing this off like this. We have a nice flat plane to work from, and thinning it out as well. We check the front end here, see how thick it is, and just keep working with that. Of course, I'm using a hammer grip, and my knife is very sharp. I just sharpen it. It's always good to keep them sharp. And you want to do this on both sides. You want to make sure that the plane of the knife stays quite flat and even while you're doing this. Alright, we're going to continue to shape this and do a little bit more shaping on the handle and put a little bit of a curve in here perhaps, and then we'll get back with you. Okay, so what we've done is we've taken our spoon and we've taken the handle and we've put a bit of a curve into it. And now we're going to start working on the tines. We're going to, using the saw on our Swiss Army tool here, and we're just going to lay it over the edge and saw it off. All right, there we go. Okay, so we have these, all three of these at about the same length, and you can see same distance apart. And then what we're going to do is we're going to clean off our blade, of course, and then we're going to go for the very small knife blade, which is right here. Be very careful, especially on these outside ones, because you can split them off quite easily. Okay, so what I'm going to keep doing is I'm just shaving down these tines, as you can see here, and I want to go inside with this small blade, and I'm getting in here and I'm just taking very small slices. I'm doing it on both sides, and I'm just trying to widen this out. So what we're going for is we want a decent spacing between each one of these, and then we want to round off and make into a point each of these ends so it'll fit nicely inside of our mouth without any jagged edges. So now what we're doing is we're just continuing to take our small blade here on our knife, and we're going in between here and we're just shaping each one of these into a smaller point, tapering from this end down here. And at this point our fork is still pretty thick through here. We're shaping it in this angle area first, getting these planes correct, and then we'll shape it into more of a point. And so we're just taking the tip of our blade here and very carefully looking at it, seeing anything is uneven, and trying to even out all of our points and everything so that our spaces are as equal as possible to give it the best look that we can. Alright, as you can see, we've got these carved down. They're fairly equal, even. The shape of our fork is starting to come together. And so now what we're going to do is we're going to take our large blade and going to start whittling on the back side of this so that we can taper this up into more of a point. And we're going to just do this very carefully using our main blade, as I said, and trying to keep everything on the same plane. And we're just going to go slow. We're not going to go real fast because, again, we want to take our time. We don't want to ruin any of our hard work. We don't want to break our tines off. And so we're just going to keep doing this until we get it whittled down. Okay, so we've got that done. We've got some nice points on our fork. Everything's fairly even. We've got our curve in here for our handle. And now the last thing we want to do is we're going to take and we're going to just take just little shavings off of these. We're going to round these edges off. And of course that's the part that's going to go in our mouth. And we want to make sure that we don't have any sharp edges. So we're going to do that all the way around. And again, we're just taking little tiny slivers off. We're not trying to do any real shaping here. This is just the final touches. We're not going to put any sandpaper to this point. Again, it's just purely bushcrafted, using only the Swiss Army knife and what tools we might have available to us out in the bush. So again, rounding these off. All right, the inside now. All right, a little bit here. All right, there you go. And probably took me, without filming everything, maybe half an hour, maybe not even that long. But now we have us a decent fork. We have one more thing we're going to do. We're going to take our awl and we're going to put a little hole right in here so that we can hang it when we're done eating. We want to hang it up to dry, something like that. And we're just simply going to take it, find the center and approximate. We're not going to go real close to the end because we don't want to split it. We're going to start about right here and we're just going to start spinning and turning. You can see a little hole there, and we're going to go through until the point starts to come out the other side, and then we'll go through the other side and come back in from the other direction and finish off the hole. And we're just going to keep working it. And of course you'll find with the grain that one side and the other side will cut a little easier than the other, and you just have to kind of go with it and make sure that you're not forcing it, as I said before. Okay, so we've got a pretty decent hole through both sides now. And then what we can do, if we wish, is we can take our fold that up and take our small blade back out, and then ever so carefully you can go around inside the hole here and clean that out, cut off a little bit of the extra fibers that just stick up, and kind of round that off just a little. And there we have it. We have a nice little hole. So we can hang it up, and I'd say that's a pretty decent little fork. Compare it to our kitchen fork here, and you can kind of see, kind of same general shape and characteristics. We have a can of Vienna sausage in barbecue sauce. Lay that down. See, our new bushcrafted fork. Let's see how it works. Not bad. Now realize that you can just carry a fork with you. And so often you can just use a pointed stick, as I've said before in my other videos. But it's a nice little task to be able to do in camp, to bushcraft your own fork. Make your own eating utensils, carve a spoon, that sort of thing. And so, something for you to try. Take on as a challenge. And this is actually a really good fork. It works extremely well. This is James Bender for Waypoint Survival. Please like, share, and subscribe. And make sure and press that bell button to stay notified of all of our upcoming videos. And we'll talk to you next time.